Do you have to make an announcement of what this is? What's the rule?
There's no rule, but this is Marriage Talks Q&A.
Well, there we go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Marriage Talk Q&A. So we were here last time, and I said if we only got one like, we would never do this again. But we clearly got a lot more likes than I thought we would get, and a lot of questions. And some people even saying things where like really helped them. So I'm like, okay, that's always my hot button. If I'm helping somebody, then I'm like, okay, I got to do that. If we're gonna help somebody, that's different. So
if I can help somebody. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. So, and honestly, it's good for us to talk too.
It is.
You know, kind of it's like, oh, somebody thought this, or hey, what, we didn't think about that. What do you think about that? So let's get to these questions. Okay. So we got some questions that came up from the comments, and we want to make sure we address all those questions.
Yeah.
So one of the questions that was asked was, how important is it to keep dating your spouse? So I'll let you start.
It's very important to me. We have date night every week, and I think it is very important to spend time together that is kind of what's the word I'm looking for, babe?
Exclusive.
Yes.
To one another.
Yes. Where you have one another's full attention, and, you can laugh, talk. It's not about, work or, what's going on at home. It's just the time for you to kind of be friends, lovers, dating.
Right.
And just enjoy one another. So that makes a huge difference, I think, in a relationship.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. The dating thing is critical. When we first started out, that was like, because I'm extremely busy.
Yeah.
You're busy when you're working.
Yes.
And so we just said, well, this is what we're gonna do. We're gonna set aside this time, no matter what's happening.
Yep.
It has to be something major.
Yes, we don't cancel.
We don't cancel
an emergency.
Yes, it's got to be an emergency. I even get calls and people, I need to talk to you. I'm like, you cannot talk to me now. You can't talk to me on this, during this time frame. So we make that, critical. So we do it once a week, and that's pretty much the off limits time. So I think to answer your question, yes, I think it's not only important, but it's actually critical. Because so many people get caught up in their children, or they get caught up in all these things, and they lose focus that you wouldn't have kids if you didn't have the love for each other, or you wouldn't have these things if it wasn't for that foundation. So that foundation is everything.
Yeah.
That's where your focus needs to stay. But a lot of times, you have friends, you have people, and their kids, hit college or high school, and they're like, okay, divorce time. And you're like, wow, because I think people lose sight of the whole point of family and everything. It starts with the couple.
Yeah. And I think you sometimes forget why you started, why you're even together, and how much you actually just enjoy one another, because life, it can be so much.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, second thing, should your spouse like your friends?
I think so.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
If y'all are on the page of, I don't like this person, I don't like that person, and it's the other person's friends, I just feel like, and this is one of the things we talked about before we got married, is that your life is your life. It was your life before we got together.
Yeah.
I'm not here to change your life.
Right.
I'm not here to come and make requirements on you that, now that you're married, I'm cracking the whip. I'm changing everything about your life because this is all about me.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, so I'm a firm believer in, you take the person as they come. You don't come into a marriage thinking, well, I'm just going to get them for right now, and then I'll change them to be what I want.
Yeah.
That's always a no. That doesn't work. Right. So, and the same thing with me. It's like, hey, I really enjoy being my situation. I like being alone. I like when I decide I've got to go to work, if I got to work late hours, I have to do whatever, I want to be able to do that without somebody being like, well, you're married now. Your whole life has to change around me.
Right.
So it was the same thing. It was mutual about, we were very purposeful about doing that, about making sure that those things stayed in place, especially the things we liked about our own lives without each other. We wanted to be able to continue that. So if you want to take a bath for an hour and a half every night, I literally was like, okay, that's your thing.
Nobody asked that.
I'm like, that's your thing. That's your thing. I don't get involved. I'm like, hey, she wants alone time and be in the bath for an hour. That's what you was doing before me? Go, hey, have your time. You do that, you pull out your Candy Crush?
Yes.
That's your thing. I'm like, hey, I'm not trying to change that. Like, and so I think that's the biggest thing is like people doing, and you have friends that you brought to the table. And my thing was, if you love these people, I need to love these people.
Yeah.
And unless I see something crazy, I have no reason not to like them because they're your friends and you've always treated mine the same. Yeah. So I think it's really important. So I think the deeper thing in answering that question, should your spouse like your friends? And the deeper thing is you should not go into a relationship trying to change somebody else's life unless it's definitely for the better, or coming in there and trying to change their whole situation, their relationships, cutting people off, and that never works out in the long run.
No, I think if you notice that the person you love has friends that are not good for them, then that's different,
right?
If the person isn't, or the people aren't helping them to be their best selves or actually keeping them from that, then that's a conversation that probably needs to happen.
I agree. And I also think that that's where you have to kind of, say, hey, if this person has these people in their circle and they can't see the person's a horrible person, is it my job to change that perspective? Because my thing is, well, what's with this person that they can't see that, or what's the issue? Because now it becomes, well, let me find out a little bit more about this person.
About you, because what's your judgment?
What is your judgment? So all those things come into play. And, that goes into like when we were dating, I think, well, there's a question that comes up. I'll talk about that when that question comes up. But yes, that's a big deal. I think you have to look at everything when you're dating a person. Yeah. And instead of going towards, oh, they're just not equipped to know what's good for them, so I'm going to come in and say that person's bad for them. You got to wonder why they're not equipped.
Why?
What's going on with that? And now you have to address that, because it's not so much about that friend, it's about that person.
Yeah.
So I always look at, we can only control ourselves. We can't control what other people do. And I can't change you. You can't change me. I can go to God. I can try to be changed. I can try to adjust to try to be more considerate or stuff like that, but that still has to be innately in me.
You. Yeah.
So I think that's important.